At this point, we got to ask, is 9/11 denier and conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer really a unconfirmed member of Donald Trump's cabinet? It appears she actually has more power and sway than Pete Hegseth or Tulsi Gabbard, since both the defense portfolio and the intelligence portfolio she has been trolling for months. She got the NSA head fired, General Hawk. She got 37 individuals of both parties, many staff members, their security clearances revoked. She, I believe, was behind the firing of the Defense Intelligence Agency general. She is cutting a wide swath. I mean, I thought Secretary Hegseth was some tough guy, and Tulsi Gabbard supposed to be, the buck stops here. Well, seems like all they are is pawns of Laura Loomer. And, I saw this firsthand now. I want to tell you a story about what's going on this week. Part of my job as the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee, and I've been chair or vice chair for the last decade, is to provide on-the-ground oversight of our many intelligence operations around the country, and for that matter, around the world. Whenever I travel, I meet with our intelligence forces. I particularly meet with folks here in Virginia because I'm both the chair or vice chair of the Intelligence Committee and the Virginia Senator. Most of the folks who work at these facilities are Virginians. So in my regular course, and I've been doing this for a decade, under Trump 1, Biden, the end of Obama, I go out and visit a facility. National Geospatial Agency is one of those facilities that does a lot of the plotting of some of our overhead picture taking. Leave it at that. And I had this meeting in the works for months, and supposed to happen this Friday. Laura Loomer, the, again, person who not only is 9/11 denier, but loves hanging out with white nationalists, started trolling me this weekend and attacking me, which, again, that's part of the job, but also attacking the leadership of the NGA. Late last night, Secretary of Defense, who I guess now reports to Laura Loomer, gave in and canceled the meeting. Now, this is not about me. It's not about a single meeting. It's about whether Congress can do its job of oversight and whether we're going to suddenly restrict access to our intelligence professionals who are under such strain right now because of their efforts of Gabbard and others to politicize intelligence, whether folks can do the oversight responsibility, which is what I took an oath of office to do as a member of the Senate, and particularly as a member of the Intelligence Committee. The committee that, by the way, historically has always been the most bipartisan. The question's going to be, we've already seen Congress defanged in many ways since the Trump administration has interfered in Congress' ability to dictate funding, since the director of the OMB picks and chooses which programs to fund. We've seen the intelligence community be under complete attack by Tulsi Gabbard, people being fired if they don't change the intelligence product. And let's remember, when you change the intelligence product and cook the books, people die. This is how we got into the war in Iraq in the first place, when the intelligence was cooked. Well, 20 plus years later, we seem to be repeating that. And part of my job, an essential part of my job, is to do oversight, to talk to the leadership, to make sure that's not happening, but also to see in an operational sense how the literally billions of dollars that we're spending is being put to good work. And the question is, if you've got to go through a Laura Loomer litmus test to do your job, that's beyond crazy. What I've got to now find out are my Republican Senate friends, because they probably won't pass the Laura Loomer litmus test as well. Are they going to stand up or roll over again? If you take away Congress's power to appropriate money and you take away Congress's power to do oversight, how do we do our jobs? And I think Americans deserve an answer on that. And again, the irony here is I would be upset if Pete Hegseth on his own had reached this decision. I think Pete Hegseth is way over his skis and shouldn't be Secretary of Defense. But at least he was confirmed and has that title. Laura Loomer is such an oddball that I don't think even the Trump administration would offer her any official job. So instead, she is using this outside influence to basically drive American national security policy. That's pretty wild. And the question is going to be, will this stand Or will the ability for me to do the oversight, and for that matter, everybody on the Intelligence Committee, to be able to do the oversight? Do we really want the intelligence community to have nobody looking over their shoulders? That's what's at stake right here. And I'm not going to roll over. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to be more than willing to take on any kind of outside agitator who basically does their job by spreading misinformation and disinformation. Because at the end of the day, if I don't, and if we don't, I say that Republican and Democratic members of the Intelligence Committee, then America's going to be less safe. And this one really doesn't have to do about partisanship. It's more about whether Donald Trump's administration is going to have any guardrails at all. They seem to be falling day by day. Whether there's going to be anyone who are in these official positions, are they really going to do their job, or just, again, kowtow to Laura Loomer? And the coming days we'll hear more. But what we've seen so far, with her Loomer's actions at pushing out respected members of the intelligence community, literally she went after the NSA director at first, and the Republicans didn't even support him. Laura Loomer's one of her first targets was the Mike Waltz, who was the National Security Council head. And many senior staff on his position had worked for Republican members of the administration. She drove all them out. She drove out the head and other senior people at the National Security Agency that does the listening in abroad that is so important. She appears to have an influence in driving out the director of Defense Intelligence Agency, another respected general. It used to be that uniformed officers were viewed as independent. Many of them have gone. We've seen so many countless members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and particularly female officers, being struck down, again, oftentimes with this Laura Loomer influence. Will we have an independent military? Will we have an independent intelligence community? Will the people who are at least by name in the job, Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard, have the courage to stand up against this kind of outside influence? Let me be clear. I will not renege or step away from my constitutional duty to provide appropriate, fair congressional oversight. And I'm sure not going to be willing to stand by and see an unelected, uninformed zealot drive national security policy.